Have you ever wanted to make your own terminal tool, like a command line interface, otherwise known as a CLI? Well, you can. There is a tool which my company puts out called Gluegun, and there are a number of different CLI libraries out there and frameworks, but Gluegun is a very user-friendly and what I like to call a delightful toolkit for building command line interfaces using TypeScript on Node.js. So I'm going to show you how to build a command line tool and how I want to inspire you to be able to script your own things, build your own really beautiful CLIs using the tools that we include in Gluegun. Gluegun has been around for a while. I think that the first release was 6 years ago, something like that. It includes all kinds of cool stuff, like it parses the parameters that are passed into your CLI. I'll show you that. It has a templating system and the ability to patch file contents and make changes within files, which is really helpful for CLIs, especially for developers. You can access the file system. You can run system commands. You can even interact with servers outside of your computer, just pinging a server. There's also a really cool prompt library. You can print pretty colors and tables and different things like that. There's also a tool for dealing with semantic versioning, which is useful sometimes. And there's a strings library for manipulating strings and template data. And there is a package manager tool as well, which allows you to install dependencies, add and remove things using npm, yarn, and eventually bun. There's also a really interesting plugin system for Gluegun. I'm not going to go through that in this particular video, but maybe in a future video. Comment below if you want me to talk more about the plugin system with Gluegun. While I'm here, make sure that you go to the github.com/infinitered/Gluegun repository and click that star button. I really appreciate it. And hit the like button and the subscribe button below. It's always helpful to see that people like the videos that I'm putting out. Why would you want to use Gluegun instead of one of the alternatives? Well, I think that Gluegun has the right balance, at least in my opinion, between power and flexibility. So a lot of other CLI frameworks out there either are too bare bones, like Commander, or they have too much. They come with way too much stuff and they're very heavy, where I think that Gluegun kind of finds that right balance in between. It's also got a really great API, in my opinion. Again, these are all very much a preference-based thing, but you can decide for yourself when you give it a shot. So let's get started building a CLI so you can see how it's done. I'm just going to build a CLI that downloads the Blazers roster from last year. I tend to do a lot of Trailblazers themed stuff on this channel. Prints it out as a table on your screen so that you can kind of see all the data that is there. You'll see how to build the CLI and how easy it is and how to use all the different tools that Gluegun gives you. So first off, go into your terminal and run npx gluegun new, and I'm going to call this Blazers Sked. And it'll ask you what language you want to use. This is actually going to go away. In a future version of Gluegun, we're just going to assume you want TypeScript. That may not be a popular opinion, but that is a thing that we're working toward. We feel that TypeScript is the best way to build CLIs. You can certainly use the current version of Gluegun if you want modern JavaScript instead. What's interesting is this Gluegun CLI, to create a Gluegun CLI, is written in Gluegun. Okay, so I'm going to cd into the new Blazers Sked, and I'm going to run yarn test just like it says, and all the tests have passed. And we also want to run yarn link. Now, if you're using bun, which I do recommend actually, but if you're using bun or npm, you can also run bun link or npm link. Now that you've run yarn link, you can actually just run Blazers Sked and it will run your CLI. So let's take a look at the code. You have a package JSON. The only runtime dependency is Gluegun. There are some dev dependencies as well. We have a docs folder with some basic information that you can fill out. And there's a binary folder. I'm going to actually take a look at that in a second. There's also some tests. I'm not going to look at the tests right now, but there is a guide on how to write tests. So if you go to the binary, you'll see that we are running in Node. I am working on another CLI framework that will run exclusively in Bun, so keep an eye out for that. And what it does is it loads from your build or your source folder, depending on if you're running it in development like we are now or in production, and runs the CLI file. So let's go to the CLI. You can see that from the run function, we are specifying the name of the CLI, what is the source folder. So the source folder is in dir name, which is just your local current directory. What plugins you have available. That's not something I'm going to go into. We can even disable that if we don't want plugin support. Default help and a default version command right out of the bat. So I can just type in Blazor's sched -- help, and it will also give me default help there. It creates the CLI and then runs it. This toolbox is something that you'll see throughout the CLI in Gluegun, and it gives you all the tools that you need in order to run your CLI. Right now, all we have is the Blazor sched.ts. This is sort of like your default command. This is the one that runs if you just run this. It just says, welcome to your CLI. So just to prove that this works, Trailblazers 2022 schedule. And if I just save it and just run again, it now says Trailblazers 2022-2023 schedule. Okay, very cool. So we've actually built a CLI. We can just ship it, right? Now we need some more functionality. Let's explain what's happening here. So we're exporting a command. It is a Gluegun command. The command has a name. In this case, it's just the default one. So we're just naming it the same as the CLI. This is a common thing within Gluegun. I tried to avoid index.ts files. You're not going to see a lot of index.ts files in a Gluegun repository. Things are going to be named the same as either the CLI itself or the command folder that it's in. If I were to create a new command, let's just go ahead and call this schedule. And just for convenience, I'm going to copy this one in here, rename this to schedule, and I'm going to say schedule in all caps here. So let's run Blazor sched schedule, and it says schedule. Great. Okay, now we want to go and download the data from the website. And you can see here that we have a GitHub. It's just a JSON file. We're pretending like this is an API. But essentially, we will be downloading from this URL. So I'm going to copy that URL. I'm going to say const base URL equals, and then I'm going to put in just the base URL part of this. So let's go with this as the base URL. Const path equals, and then I'll just drop in the path here. Const response equals, and we need to import, it's not really importing, it's destructuring from the toolbox, the HTTP library. So we're going to await http.create the base URL. We're passing that in, and then we're getting the path from. And for now, let's just console.log out the response. Let's go ahead and run this. And you can see that we got a response back. And within that response, we also have data, response.data.schedule. And it's telling me that this is an unknown type. We're going to have to type this. Request. Let's go ahead and just copy this right here and create a type for that. Change this to an array. Some people like to put array here. I'll go ahead and do that just to appease them. And then all of these are just going to be strings. So we're just going to replace all of this. And then we have our schedule response. And then down here we can say const schedule equals response.data as schedule response. And then we have our schedule, and we can console log it out. And there we go. There's our schedule. So you can kind of see how the workflow goes. You're running the command over in your terminal. You're making changes here. It's relatively straightforward stuff. But let's get a little bit fancier here. Instead of using console.log, let's use print.table. And what it wants is a string of strings. So we're going to have to do some transformation here to turn it into that. Const table data equals schedule.map, and then we have each game, right? So now we need to return an array as well. The game date, the game time, the game location, and the game opponent. And now we can output the table data here, and let's see how that works. And there we go. There we have a table. Pretty cool. Now, a lot of times in CLIs, you want to have user interaction. You don't want to just output data. So let's add a little twist to this. First thing we're going to do is import prompt or destructure prompt. And then we're going to say const replace team name equals await prompt.ask. What team do you want to replace with another team? Let's use the print.debug to see what exactly the replace team name variable is responding with, because it's not exactly what you might think. I'm going to go ahead and run this. We'll see our question here. I'm going to say jazz. And then you can see at the top here under the debug, it gives you this nice like rainbow thing just so you can see what's going on in the output. But there's actually a team name property within the replace team name variable. So that's just part of the API. Const team name equals replace team name.tname. Now we need to ask, what do we replace it with? And Copilot is being helpful here. And then we can do that. The opponent now needs to be replaced like so, just so that we get the result that we want. Game opponent will replace the team name with a different team name. Okay. And this is kind of a silly example, but let's go ahead and try this. We want to replace the Jazz with the Lakers. And I hit enter, and you can see right here that we have the Utah Lakers. Jazz fans are very upset at me right now. So while it's creating this this table, we're gonna do a print.spin creating data ... and we're gonna const spinner equals await new promise, and we'll throw in a set timeout right there. And so we'll have a spinner.succeed with data created. It should finish the spinner. We'll print out the table as well. So let's give that a shot. And we're going to say Jazz, and this time we're going to say the Heat. And you have a nice little spinner, and then it says data created and outputs everything there. So this is a great introduction to how Gluegun works. If you wanted more commands, you could add them here. Of course, you can make all kinds of things. It just depends on your imagination. So I'm really excited to see what you build. Also, keep an eye out for the bun-powered Gluegun successor. This has been around for a long time, and I have a lot of great ideas based on all of our experience building CLIs, including Ignite CLI. Let me know in the comments what you think about this, and if you build anything with Gluegun, let me know. I really appreciate it. We'll see you all next time.